Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we are with our first project of the semester. Now, I went back to one of my classic ones, which is an Elements of Design portfolio. A little different this year because they're actually full-on folders that you'll be able to keep your projects in and in your backpack throughout the year. So, it's an Elements of Design portfolio, and a portfolio is just a fancy word for where you keep your artwork, otherwise known as project storage. One of the main reasons of why we're doing this project is so I can see where you're at and where I need to take you to get the skills you need for the end of the class. I know some of you might not be the most confident in your art skills yet. Some of you might be like, I got this, Miss Boyer, this is gonna look beautiful. Either way, I wanna know that. I wanna see where you're at, I wanna see what you're doing, and I wanna see what you can do. Because I'm sure you can do a lot more than you think you can. And I'll help you along the way, and if you run into any trouble, it's not any worries, because art's all about learning and growing, and you're never gonna be perfect. This isn't perfect, and I've done this project like 3 billion times. So we're all learning and growing together, and we're gonna get there. So let's see what you've got. Show me what you've got, and let's get started. So, the first thing that you need to do is you will need to decide on an initial, first, last, middle name, of what initial you want on the front of your portfolio. Don't forget to write your name on the inside though first. That's really step number 1. Name. Step number 2. Put an initial. Alright, once you've drawn your bubble or block letter, you are going to then next design and color the inside of that letter in. So I like patterns and bright colors, so I chose to show kind of what I like to do with that, with colors, bright patterns, bold designs, a little bit more complex than just stripes or something like that. I want to see what you have. Where your letter is a chance to show off a little bit about you and what you like to do in your artwork. So show off what you got inside your letter. Now the next part is where I need to see a few things from you. And that is in step number 3. You're going to separate your background into 6 sections. I show you that a little bit more later on, but I just divided mine into 6 sections. And then I'm going to choose 6 of the 7 elements of design and design those sections with those things in mind. So this is line, shape, space. I use positive and negative, value with the lighting, color, and texture with a little fuzzy puppy. Alright, so that's how I chose to show them and design mine. And again, we'll look at that a little bit more later on. After I've chosen and designed those things, I'm going to color those designs in to give it a little bit more pop. Show me what you got, and let's get started. You're going to need paper, a ruler, pencil, eraser, Sharpie is helpful but not necessary, and colored pencils. If you want to use markers or anything else, that is perfectly fine as well. You'll need sharpeners though for your pencil and color pencils if that's what you choose. That's what we need for this project. Let's get going. The first step that I'm going to do is I'm going to start on my initial. But wait, actually the first step I'm going to do is write my name on the inside of my folder so that it is different than all of the other people's. It's very important you write your name on it. Then I'm going to go back to the front and I'm going to start on my letter. I want to use a ruler to start my first straight line. If I don't have a ruler, I can also use an edge of a folder or something. And that's what I like to use on the edge of my B, but then I'm going to finish my B. I'm going to horribly mess up in that bottom corner, but that's just fine because I have an eraser. I'm going to fix that bottom corner and then continue on. Now I'm moving on to the inside of my B. I'm going to use my ruler as a handy dandy measuring tool, you know, like a ruler's intended. And I'm going to start the inside of the letter B. And I'm still not happy with that bottom corner, so I'm going to fix it again. Don't worry, I'm going to fix it like 3 more times. Fix it with my eraser. Still not quite happy with it. Fix it again. Nah, that's fine. Moving on. I think I want to start with some diagonal lines as I go forward. I think they're just strong and bold, and I like that kind of patterning. I'm going to add those in real fast. And I just use my ruler to do that. Again, you can use the edge of a folder or a piece of paper if you don't have a ruler, and that also works. Oh, that corner, I'll get there. It'll work. And moving on with the rest of it. I like the stripes I've made, but I think it needs a little bit more. So I'm going to start adding some polka dots to the inside of every other stripe. I think this makes it look a little bit more interesting, and I like more complex patterning. Then I'm going to add a little bit more after that. I'm going to break down the empty stripes with a few more lines so that I have more options on what I can do inside of them. And I'm going to add a zigzag line to make some triangles, make it look even more dynamic. It's looking good. I'm liking how the pattern's turning out, but I think it needs a little bit more. So I'm going to add more triangles because you can never have enough. Add some more triangles, just layering in some complexity to it. And then I think I'll also add some like little half circles or little rainbow kind of motifs in there to make it even more interesting, and following along with that along the edges. I'll get that all filled in. And as I finish getting that filled in, I think it still needs just a little bit more. So I'm going to add a little bit more to it just with these extra lines. There, that's looking really nice. I like how this is turning out so far. Nice complex pattern, still has some simplicity to it. All good. Let's move on to the next step. Now it's time to color in my letter. I want to find my colored pencils and start choosing the colors I need. Now the main thing I want you to think about when you start coloring any section is just doing it nice and neatly. Try to go overall in the same direction, give it nice even coats, and make it look really nice and neat. Now I don't think you need to see me color every single little thing on here, so I'm just going to give you a general gist of it and move on. Before I move on, however, I do want to point out the fact that I did not have a nice even coat the first time through, so I went back through and cleaned up my green before moving on to my next color. As you can see, we jumped ahead a little bit and added some more color to it, and I'm just going to continue doing that this whole time and kind of show you the steps as I go. So just stick with me and let's see what we got. And here we are coming in right at the very end where I'm coloring the last little bit. I think it turned out really well. I like the bold colors that I chose, and you can choose any colors that you like. I just happen to like bright, bold colors right next to one another. The next thing I'm going to do is use this Sharpie and give my letter an outline. This isn't a necessary step, it's just something I like to do to kind of clean up my edges and give it a better definition on the edge. There we go, nice clean edge with the Sharpie, and that looks great. On to the next step. In this next step, I need to draw 3 lines, one of which crosses the first 2 to make 6 sections. So here's my first line, anywhere across my paper in any direction that I choose. My second line just cannot cross my first line. So as long as it doesn't touch the other one, I'm good. Draw that second line right there, and the third line has to cross both of the other ones. So I'm going to choose a spot that the line, even if it's behind the B, it'll cross the other 2 lines. Once I've drawn this third line, the sections that it's made in the background will make 6 different sections. Then I'll have 6 sections for my 6 elements of art. Now that I have 6 sections, I can choose 6 of the 7 elements of art to put in each of those 6 sections. One of the elements I will leave off, and it can be the one that I like the least, the one I don't feel like drawing today, the one I don't understand. Whichever one you dislike the most, you can leave off of your project. But I do need to see the other 6. Once I've had that down and I've labeled mine, I'm going to start planning out and designing those sections. As you can see, I've already started and I decided right away I didn't like what I did there. So I'm just going to go through and start planning out each of my sections. Just my shape section, really easy with some nice geometric and organic shapes. The next section I want to tackle is line. I think I'll draw one long continuous line here. I'll think about it for a second, but that's what I decided to do. One long continuous squiggle line, looking good. Then moving forward after, the next thing I want to do is color, and I decide I want to do a rainbow to do and how the colors interact with one another, like if they're being reflected out of. So I draw the sections for that to color later. After that section, I have to have a think for a second of what I want to do next, and I decide to do the texture section. I decide to draw a wooden fence with like a little puppy dog looking over it, so that I can draw both a wooden texture and a fuzzy or furry texture to show texture. You might not be able to see it very well right now, but once I color it, it should look a little bit better. Once I'm done with that section, think again for a second. I fiddle with it a little bit more while I'm thinking. And then I decide I want to do space. And I decide to do positive and negative space. So I wanted to draw a hot air balloon, and that will be my positive space, the space that's being taken up, and the negative space will be the sky around it. I do decide to add a few clouds in there to kind of give it some diversity. Now the one I struggled with the most was how did I want to show value? And how I showed value is if a light is hitting an object, that's a great way to show how light interacts with something and how light to dark something gets. So I decided to draw a lamp, and like an apple, I decide to hit and draw the value on it. I quickly realize I draw the lamp at a weird angle, so I fix it and I work on the stand for a second, and then I decide to draw an apple on a table inside the bee. The inside of the bee seemed like a waste of space otherwise if I didn't put anything in it, so I put the apple inside of it. From there, I color it. And here it is, once I'm all done. I didn't think you needed to watch me color it all over again. And that's what I have. I've colored everything in, it's looking nice. First thing I have is my shapes, my space, my value, my color, my texture, and my line in the corner. I think it all turned out really great, and I hope that your project turns out wonderfully too. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a lot of fun with this project and that you've shown me what you have and where you're at artistically. What I want you to do to turn in this project is you're actually only going to take a picture of it for me. I don't care if it's on your phone or on your Chromebook. All I ask is that it has the entire frame on it and that it has good lighting, so not in shadow at home or somewhere like that if you need to go by a window or something, so that I can really see what you've done. And I want the picture to fill up as much of the frame as possible without covering anything. You're just going to take a picture of it and you're going to upload it on the Google Classroom assignment. That way you can keep these folders with you to keep your project paper in for your next project without needing to turn them into me, and you can hold on to this and use it the way it was intended to, which was project storage. All right, so you're going to use this as your project storage. I want you to keep it with you instead of turning it in. Now, with that though, you need to also fill out the grade sheet with it. We're going to talk about the grade sheet in depth a little later, but make sure you filled that out and turned it in either through Google Classroom or with a physical copy. Either way I'm good, but I need the grade sheet so you can both self-assess and I can assess you on the same parameters together. Thank you for doing this project with me. I hope you've had a lot of fun. Let's go on to the next thing.